J. Ottoson, and Mr. Ottoson is President and Chief Operating Officer of SM Energy, headquartered right here in Denver. He has 28 years of experience in the energy industry. He has started his career working with ARCO. Mr. Ottoson moved to Alaska with ARCO in 1982 and spent the next 16 years working in jobs with progressively more responsibility in the company's oil and gas operations. In addition to his experience in North America, Mr. Ottoson has international experience in both the UK, North Sea, and the People's Republic of China. Mr. Ottoson graduated from the Colorado School of Mines with a Bachelor of Science degree in Chemical and Petroleum Refining Engineering in 1980. He represents a very progressive independent with major assets in the Bakken and Eagle Ford, and also growing assets in the Permian Basin. So please help me welcome our diamond sponsor, Mr. J. Ottoson.
Well, good morning. Welcome to Denver, our hometown. Great to be with you this morning. You know, Jack Welch said a few years ago that in one of his books that as a manager and as an executive with GE, every once in a while he had to ask himself, what should I be doing now? And sometimes when he asked himself that question, he got answers he didn't like. It wasn't the answer, it wasn't what he wanted to work on, it was what he needed to work on. And you know, over the last few years, we've had a great run as an industry. A lot of small companies capturing big acreage positions. I think we have to ask ourselves now, and it's a great theme for this conference, is what do we need to do now? So let's look at that. I may make a couple forward-looking statements. I'm not perfect. That's all that slide says. You know, SM Energy's focus over the last few years has been very similar to many of yours, I'm sure. We've been capturing acreage. We have 190,000 acres in the Eagle Ford. We have 225,000 acres in the Williston. We have 166,000 acres in the Powder River Basin. We've been growing I think we've tripled the size of the company in the last 5 years. You can see we've been growing 116% compounded in the Eagle Ford, 177% in the Bakken. We've been HPPing acreage. We've been growing. This has been the focus of the company. You know, I was at our internal technical conference over here at the Hyatt just a few months ago, and it's a great technical conference. It happened to have the exact same theme as this conference, integrated work. How do we work together more effectively? We bring in outside speakers. During one of the breaks, I asked one of the outside speakers, okay, what's the next big thing? What's going to be the next big thing in the U.S. It's, you know, the next big play, the next big thing. And he looked at me and he said, well, the next big thing is increased recovery. And I thought, well, that's not what I expected to hear. I was thinking it was going to be something that would really drive a new play. No, he said, you know, we've captured an enormous resource. The next big thing is increased recovery. Technologies that relate to that. Activities that relates to that. Integrated work that relates to that. So I was really curious about that, so I went back, we did a little homework on what does that really mean in terms of increased recovery. And here's what you get. If you look just at the oil side of 4 big plays, the Eagle Ford, Bakken, Permian, and Niobrara, here we are, 42 billion barrels recovered. This is EIA data, not mine. And this is at an assumed 5% recovery factor. 42 billion barrels to be recovered. Now, I will tell you, I think those numbers are low. I think that Permian number is really low. I think the Bakken number is low. 42 billion barrels. The interesting thing, though, is just a 1% uptick in recovery. So going from 5% to 6%, a 20% increase in recovery then in those areas, 8.3 billion barrels, which is about 3 years worth of total U.S. production. On the gas side, the numbers are even bigger. The Marcellus, Haynesville, Eagle Ford, Utica, 4 big gas fields, 760 TCF of recoverable at a 25% recovery factor. Again, a 20% uptick, going to 30%, which all of us could say, well, we ought to get there, right? Another 152 T's of total recoverable resource. That's about 6 years of U.S. production in natural gas. So these numbers are huge. And I think it's really true that the next big thing for companies like ours who've captured all this acreage is really about recovery. What are we going to do to make this a bigger and better business going into the future?